But in the red, our Protoss player from Dead Pixels, it is Patience. Looking good, not looking too nervous here, ready to go into this game. And up here in the top right, in the blue, our Terran player, the favorite here, it is Fantasy.
Fantasy is definitely one of the more popular Korean players, I think, that we have, traveling to these foreign events here in Spain, for example. He's very, very popular, I think, especially for, like, if you look at his, his results, it's not like, he's won like 10 titles or something, like. So.
Not really, but I mean, this guy's been around for so long, like back even in the days of Brood War. I'm sure we got some Brood War guys out there watching right now. Fans of this guy for so long, he's gotten a bunch of titles at least back in the day. But still looking to make his big footprint here in SC2.
Patience, though, like I said, I'm pretty sure he's going to be mixing it up a lot. And actually, look at this. A gateway on 12 here. Oh, no.
No?
Started probably okay. That looks like a gateway 12 for a second. I don't know, he was at like 130 minerals.
Yeah, it was getting close. But
gonna scout right after it. So he wants to know exactly what he's up against here to open with. That might actually affect his choice. He might be hesitating between two builds here, Patience. And with a quick scout here, he's gonna be able to figure out very quickly what kind of opener it is from Fantasy, and then from there decide whether or not he goes for one build or another.
Yeah, I think once he comes in here and scouts like a pretty, decently fast gas, you're probably going to be going for Reapers here on Fantasy's side. Maybe he won't go for anything too cheesy. Maybe he will just play straight up. And I have to say, I really do like the build out of Fantasy here. Just playing safe straight up here in the first game against Patience.
I mean, this is what we expect out of Fantasy a lot of the time. He's going to be, trying to scout, get in there as much as possible. And if he can get the information and defend whatever Patience throwing at him, or even like if there's nothing being thrown, he's going to be really happy to go up to 3 base, 4 bases, be the one putting on the pressure, doing some drops. Even taking, I've seen Fantasy play some pretty beautiful late game TVP, which 1% of Terran players in the world can do.
The question really for me is Fantasy going to be on his game tonight? He looked fantastic in the TVZ against Red. He was looking really strong on his game, but of course this is a different matchup. And will he be on his game tonight? What do you think, Todd?
I think so. I think like he's had a whole night to think about this. Unless something really special happened during the night, somebody kept him up snoring like it happened to me before the first day here. I think he's gonna be okay. Patience though, like, it feels like for Patience, if he tries to do very risky build, it's gonna be super hit or miss. Like if he gets scouted, like, he's as good as dead if he tries something a little bit risky. But so far, it looks pretty standard here, I think, from both players.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy for that, too. I didn't really want to see Patience try to go all in and just, like, fall flat on his face, you know what I mean? I just want to see, like, a straight-up macro game here. Can Patience actually prove to everybody watching that he can go toe-to-toe with Fantasy?
We've seen it before. The thing is, it's just so hard to play standard from the very start and be able to do well against a very solid Terran. Second gas here pretty quickly taken here by Fantasy in this game.
Ooh.
Every time I see that, my first thought is always the same. Cloak Banshee or something like that. If it was Gumiho, we could already be calling the Ravens and like the tanks that are going to be made.
Yeah, I heard that Gumiho actually played a bunch of mech against Patience, or at least one of the games that he played against Patience. Maybe part of the reason why Patience was able to take that series, but that was for another day. Very curious to see what Fantasy exactly is going to go for here. It looks like just reactored out Widow Mines. He's going to be going pretty heavy on the drop harass here.
Yeah, this is definitely very interesting. With the second gas, if he was to go for, say, like a Medivac, and then behind this wants to go for something like a Raven, then he can add the barracks later on, go for... I'm assuming it's going to be bio. Like, it's very hard to call mech, Especially, I don't think that on this map it'd be that great, I think, to go for mech. Like, you were very exposed to counterattacks. This is defensive Phoenixes here being pumped out against Widow Mines, actually. So, yeah, seems like he's getting ready.
This is actually pretty funny because me and Moonley were actually talking about this map for PvT, and he was saying, why don't Protoss just go Phoenix Colossus on this map? Kind of reminds me of Vonnie Research Station. It's really hard to get that third base, but if you can defend against all the aggression, all the drops by just getting an absurd amount of Phoenixes out pretty early, maybe you can take that third base. Maybe you can go to the later game.
The thing is, you need to be pretty sure the opponent's going to open something like, well, at least go into Widow Mines pretty quickly, because if you open Phoenixes and he's going for heavy bio, you're not going to achieve much. You can go Phoenix Colossus, but then you're committing to a style that's very, very hard to pull off. The Mothership Core is not in a great position here. I'm not sure. There is that's the third Phoenix coming out, I think. If you're not in position against this, even though you're gonna have enough Phoenixes, you can still take damage. If those Widowmines burrow, this could be disastrous here.
Here it comes, right into the natural. The Widowmines come down, all 4 of them. The probes are pulled here. He's trying to get the micro off here, trying to split his probes. He does a decent job, but a really long pull here. Gonna lose a lot of his mining at that natural base.
Oh, is he gonna pick up the Widowmines? No, he leaves them there. The Reaper was picked up and killed here, but detection is gonna be kinda late. I'm not sure he can come out on time here.
He really needs to chrono boost out that Observer, but in the meantime, he's going to be trying to find that medevac. Fantasy trying to hide it down here in the bottom left.
Can we see the Observer and the Widowmines? He just came out. The Observer just came out. Is he?
Observer coming out here. It did just reset, but there was only one, so he was able to focus down before it came out. And look
what
at
a great catch.
He catches that medevac here. He is going to pick up one, but just leave it be.
Hey, he can't leave, though, because Observer is going to go there. Did he pick up? Oh, he picked up one of the Widowmines.
Oh, and look at this. Widowmine coming in. He hasn't noticed. Getting a lot of damage. 5 probes are going to go down in total.
Yeah, Patience, he was on 43 probes, now 38 against 37 SCVs, 2 orbitals. It's going to be great here for Fantasy economically. In this game, he's adding on barracks behind this. And I like his position in general. I think he's done enough damage to basically propel himself into the mid-game in a good position here.
Yeah, this is exactly what Fantasy wanted, and exactly what Patience didn't really want. If he can find this medevac, though, Patience pulls himself right back into this game. He's going in the exact right direction. He's going to be ambushing this medevac, but oh, he's moving his Phoenixes out of the way. And here comes the medevac straight into the natural. Bad timing here for Patience, but he will be able to focus down. Oh, he gets the lift there. One of it goes off. Only 2 probes going to go down. Not the biggest damage, and he will find that medevac.
I'm really surprised that Fantasy, he's insisting on this, even though he saw the Phoenixes. Like, usually you see the Phoenixes, you burrow the Widowmines back at home, or you even set up a trap in the middle of the map to try and detonate on these Phoenixes, but he actually kept on trying to drop those, and that last drop really wasn't worth it. Yeah. He lost quite a bit because of it. If he had those Widowmines still alive, plus the bio that he's getting, I mean, there is some Colossus on the way, sure, but he could apply some pressure, do some big Doom drops later on and burrow Widowmines in the middle lines and be able to do well with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. A bit unfortunate there. Patience actually missed another medevac out on the map, but I think Fantasy's going to try to just back off a little bit. With this many Phoenixes on the map, I think it's about 5. It's really, really hard to drop the Protoss at this point. And he's even going to come in here and try to find some damage. He will delay the CC building and see the timing of it even.
Yeah, cutting Phoenixes at 5 here so far, I think I like it. I think if you go Phoenix Colossus, it's super hard to pull off. And just stopping at 5 and then from there playing a standard game is probably a better idea. Look, he's heading gateways, he's getting blinked. We're definitely going to see that out of Patience.
Yeah, I like it here. You know, you definitely do not have to overcommit. Because he has total map control with these Phoenixes as well, he is going to be able to get that 3rd base up in pretty decent time.
It's actually super annoying here for Fantasy right now. He's about to counter-attack, though. His Patience ready. Where's the Mothership Core? There it is.
There it is, sighting Todd. And he does have at least 1 Colossus out at this point. He's getting a 2nd one in range, but look at this, just continued harassment. May even be able to get one of these medevacs here, doing a decent amount of damage, both of them really low, but not able to kill either of them.
These Phoenixes are little demons, man. They just go around, pick off stuff. Fantasy is probably not really happy about this run. Did he start +2 attack just now? Instead of going for ground armor, this might indicate he wants to go for a timing. Look at this, 3 more gates.
He's really powering up here. He's got that 3rd base, but not really mining from it just yet. But at the same time, he is continuously getting out those probes. So I don't think he's going to go too all in with this one, but he's definitely got something coming here for Fantasy.
Autosilope and Tastelope. They're here in spirits.
Hanging out together.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who puts a pylon down there for vision, by the way. Like, at these rocks that get sniped.
That's actually really smart.
Yeah, but it gets sniped every time, though. But then you have the info and the Terran can't go.
Yeah.
I guess Fantasy ideally is going to want to drop somewhere with a few medivacs worth of bio and attack the 3rd base at the same time.
Yeah, you know, he definitely could do that. He's been having some trouble trying
barely outside the vision.
Yeah. He's been having some trouble trying to find this damage.
How much is there in the natural?
Well, there are some Zealots here as well as the cannon. Here comes the drop. Not enough energy here for that Photon Overcharge. A lot of bio here actually in the natural.
The army is too far away. That Nexus is going to go down instantly.
If he targets it, but he's not targeting it with all of his units.
For some reason, he's not. He could have gotten that quite easily. In the meantime, Patience knew that Fantasy wasn't going to be looking at his army, so he engaged, killed a little bit of it. Those Phoenixes doing a great job still, killing these units, and he actually could chase the medivacs. Look at the supply all of a sudden.
Oh,
Patience really brought it down here, the supply of Fantasy. If he had waited a little bit more.
He's going to go for another drop here while the army of Patience is out on the map, and the Phoenixes are all the way up here in the north. See how much damage that can do. That pylon you were talking about does spot it, though, down here. So we'll see if Patience will have a defense in time. It looks like he will.
Yeah, he needs to split perfectly against this. If you have just too few units on one side or another, you're going to start taking damage, and then it's the beginning of the end. That one Colossus actually chasing from above here, doing a ton of damage. But Fantasy should be setting up for the attack at the natural here in a second. I'm not sure where he's trading here. Definitely could have gone away.
Looks like he is trying to do it. He will be able to snipe a couple of these Phoenixes, and he is beginning to put on that pressure at the natural. What does Patience have over here? A very big warp, and these are +2 shells with charge.
Charge literally just finished, so he's going to help a lot in defending against this.
Will do a decent job, but the Widowmine hit was very strong, and great kiting there from Fantasy at the same time.
Yeah, the splits have been pretty good so far from Patience, to be honest. He really didn't take that much damage. Even though he's on 62 probes to 71 SCVs, I think he's pretty happy. Like 62 probes across 3 bases. Like his economy is good enough for him to, you know, go into another base if he wants to, keep on teching, start researching Storm, +3 attack starts out of the Forge.
This is such an interesting way to play Protoss. We oftentimes see just the armor upgrades getting out here first, and then eventually we see the attack, but Patience just deciding that this is what he wants to do here on this map. What do you think about that, Todd?
I think if you do that, it means you want to attack. Like you want to attack. You don't want to play defensive. You don't want to take it to the super late game. You're going to want to attack when these upgrades hit. And look at this now. Now he's +2, moving across the map. This cannon's going to help a ton here. And there's Colossus in position already.
I'm worried about this attack over here, though, at the third base. Not much to defend for Patience. At the same time, though, he's going to go in here towards the third base. No defense over here for Fantasy. He's just going to leave a couple of Zealots to attack there. But at the same time, Patience taking a lot of damage there at the third base.
Oh, he's
and
going to go for the natural. Look at his Patience. He leaves a few Zealots in that third base of Fantasy. He knows that this is starting to become a base trade, so he's going to head for the natural of Fantasy. Fantasy needs actually a lot back home to defend against this, but Patience pulling back for some reason.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think he definitely could have punished Fantasy there. Fantasy definitely didn't have much. You can even see it in the supplies right now. The army supply much higher here for Patience.
Yeah,
but he's choosing to come all the way back home.
Actually, if he can save that, this would be huge here. Or even trade it for all of this bio. Nice pickup here by Fantasy. The Stalkers are out of position, so they won't be able to chase. I think, like, he's being pushed into attacking right now, Patience. I don't think he can play it slow. He has to move across the map. He has to keep on being active, warping enough at home to defense.
I don't think there's any way,
behind.
There's no way he can just make 2 more Nexi and just try to play a straight-up game from here for sure. I think you're definitely right about that, Todd. And we do see Patience rounding up his army now, trying to go for that attack, but
that is close. Yeah, Fantasy, I think he's going to be happy to trade because worst comes to worst. He snipes all the Nexus, flies in the corner of the map, plays for the draw. A lot of the time, like these scenarios, you're going to be able to do well as a turn. He's also going to keep a lot of the reinforcements and new army that he's getting inside of his main base. Going for a fight actually will play right into Patience's hands. And Patience is walking back home right now. Instead of counter-attacking, he's going to lose another Nexus.
Essentially for free here. You know, he's going to catch some units down here in the middle of the map, but look at this. He's even going to drop the natural. This next is trying to come down, but that's definitely not going to come down. And look at this. The Colossi all alone. The Bio's just going to be able to easily focus it down. And Patience losing a gigantic chunk of his army.
Yeah, Fantasy definitely pulling this off very well here. Getting another Nexus right now. The natural. Patience down to his last units. He's probably going to go for the desperation attack here. At the natural, there is no Viking. This is very much a Maru style where you get a lot of Bio and Medivacs and you keep on counter-dropping, play the base trade. But right now, Fantasy is probably going to have to hold on at home. Well, actually, I guess he can just eliminate Patience as well across the map if he's able to.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do. Patience is going to push in here. Not much defense at all for Fantasy. In fact, he's going to be able to take out this orbital command and maybe even go for that main. But at the same time, Fantasy not microing his army in the main of Patience.
No production at all from both players right now, actually. It's pretty funny. No Vikings on the way. Okay, he's going to start some more Bio here. Fantasy, I'm really surprised that he's not getting some Vikings. Like, just 6 Vikings would go a long way to help him defend, but is still in a pretty good position here with 74 army supply and right now completely eliminating and shutting down the economy of Patience.
Yeah. On the other side of the map, like, Patience hasn't really done that great of a job of taking out that mining base in the main or even taking out some of the production, like you were saying here. And now look at this, Patience splitting up his army a little bit too much, going to lose some Zealots and Sentries. You can't really afford to lose anything at this point in the game.
I think Fantasy is just going to go for a sandwich here on that Protoss army across the map. Look, he's starting to go back It is 80 army supply to 40 for this Colossus. Like they are the most naked Colossi I've ever seen. They're just like by themselves. I guess there's going to be some probes and stalkers there to help them, but
Probes
it's
can...
gonna take one hell of a fight for Patience to win this, Valdez. One Phoenix in production.
Oh, look at this.
That's
At
cute.
the same time, Fantasy has got this huge base down in the bottom right. I don't even think Patience knows about it. Although he is heading down there. He's going to send one Zealot, it looks like. That should be able to stop the mining at least.
And actually,
here comes that big fight. The Colossi, looks like they do have some tanking, but Fantasy coming from behind. He's just going to back off here in the front of the attack. Fantasy has to be so careful about how he engages this Protoss army right now.
if Patience like miraculously completely shut down this army, it could be a draw. But
That is very true.
He's gonna take a hell of a fight here from him. 3 Colossi though against no Vikings.
Ooh, there was a really big
Fantasy's
Widowmine
coming
hit
in
there,
from behind.
actually.
Here we go.
The SCV is coming with the whole bio army. He's going to surround all the Colossi, and all that's left here for Patience. He should be able to clean it all up. The last Colossus finishes GG. Fantasy wins game number 1.
Solid. I think that's the word here that describes best the performance of Fantasy. Even though Patience, I think he wanted to go for a timing. You know, he was getting all these attack upgrades and he wanted to go for an attack with a bunch of Colossi. He wanted to be able to defend back at home at the same time. Fantasy handled the situation pretty beautifully.
Yeah. In this game, but guys, we're going to jump straight into game number 2 right now. And up here in the top right, in the red, our Protoss player down a game now. It is Patience. Swallowing there a bit. We'll see if he can pull it together for this game number 2. He's going to be going up against the blue Terran here in the bottom right. It is Fantasy.
They both made it to the round of 8 already, which is definitely, you know, a good result, but I'm pretty sure they want to go further. And that's a good performance for, you know, both of these guys who don't necessarily always make it super far in tournaments.
Yeah.
Top 8 in the tournament this stacked, definitely pretty good on their resume.
Sure. And not even just these two players, of course, both of them being on Dead Pixels, but their teammates on the other side of the bracket, True, also making it through. So I'm sure the Dead Pixels guys are pretty happy at this point in time.
With
I know I would
uniforms. They look pretty good.
True also said if he wins today, he's going to give us a special performance. So we'll see if that comes into fruition a little bit later on today.
Oh, that's cool. A few SCVs are starting here, pointing out that this very well may be a command center first, as our observer Funka always doing a fantastic job here.
Yes. Thank you, Funka.
How do you like casting games observed by Funka, Valdez?
Oh, I enjoy it so much. She's
want to
a
do it every day,
fantastic
don't you?
observer. Yeah. But yeah, Patience just going to throw down a gateway here. Also getting that gas. Oh, he's going to go for double gas, in fact. So he is not going to go for a super fast Nexus here, probably.
Proxy Stargate.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Thinking about. Yeah.
We already see it a lot on this map. And look at where this probe is going, Todd.
Yeah. What follow-up, though? That's the question. If you go for Proxy Stargates, do you go into macro behind it, or do you drop down a few gateways and keep it real? Or
do you make a fleet peak and go for Tempest? Is that also an option, Todd?
On this map and like proxying like this, I don't think so. I think this is just like purely Oracles right now. The fleet beacon is only for hardcore guys like Roddy and Classic.
Well, we do have that pylon finishing up here, but the Cybernetics core only finishing up now, so it's going to be a while before we get to see that tech. I think it's almost definitely going to be that Stargate, especially because of the position right in between the two bases that are possible in the bottom left and the bottom right.
Fantasy could have been top left, but Patience basically saying, well, 2 chances out of 3, this is going to be better.
Yeah. It's very rare that, you know, that kind of thing would even come into play.
I wonder where Patience will scout actually behind this. If he scouts bottom left and then top left, he won't reveal that he's scouting. So Fantasy might think this is a purely macro build.
Yeah.
I'm still expecting him to have Marines in his mineral lines to defend, but nope. Patience gonna go to the bottom right-hand side and see that Fantasy, he's there and went for a CC first. That's a pretty big deal. Like, he can already kind of decide exactly what he wants to go for. Yeah, I never expected Fantasy to actually check there. There's, like I said before, 4 players map, big map. There's too many locations you can hide in.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see if Fantasy, you know, what he's going to go off the back of this. I guess he's just saying, with that CC first, I'm going to get out 3 barracks really fast. Try to just get a lot of Marines out here so that I can defend against this kind of cheesy play.
He can actually, if he moves across the map, because Patience right now is entirely skipping on Mothership Core. Usually, you if you want to play defensive behind it, you get a Mothership Core. But right now he's getting a second Stalker, so he wants to play super aggressive with these Stalkers. And I'm assuming there's going to be at least a second Oracle, which actually hints that he might want to go for additional gateways. Look at this. Already one more, and a follow-up attack here.
Calling the builds here, Todd. And it looks like he is going to go for exactly that. Only adding one gateway so far. But he does have that second Stalker making its way across the map. The Oracle is also complete here.
Yeah, second one was already queued as well. I wonder how many will stop, actually. Guys like MC, you know, they get 3, 4, 5. And
look at this.
He's not ready. He was not prepared.
He's just going to have to pull everything. He doesn't have enough Marines in the main base. At the same time, his Marines trying to fight against Stalkers here in the middle of the map. He's not going to win that trade.
I'm a little bit surprised that Patience went for the middle line, to be honest. Usually you go for the Marines, especially if you know there is no bunker, and then you kill them all and you win the game.
Especially with this kind of build where you're following up with this many gates, because the Stalkers are going to be so good against this. But at the same time, the bunker is not finished here. It's just barely going to finish, but it is very low. Fantasy does need to get that repair.
Is that pylon in range for Fantasy to see?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, he starts a second bunker, so he kind of knows that right now this is coming, but I don't think he's gonna have enough. He's already lost so many SCVs and Marines. He's not gonna have turrets, which you need against these kind of Oracles and Void Rays.
Now, totally foregoing the engineering bay could be a mistake. One Oracle is gonna go down, but he's more importantly getting rid of so many of these Marines before the fight. This Oracle getting so many kills here, and the follow-up with Void Rays here as well are going to do a number on these bunkers.
Fantasy is in trouble. He's going to have 2 bunkers to work with. He needs to have them surrounded by the time this finally hits. I think he warped in a sentry. Yeah, so I guess he wants to have a Guardian Shield here to work with. This is building up on energy here, but I mean,
it's a great idea.
It's so hard for Fantasy to hold.
I wonder how many Void Rays Patience is going to wait for. He's coming in here, he's just scouting.
Like right now, he's killed so much that I think going ASAP when he gets the second one, or I thought he might even go when the first one. Look at this. Now turrets are starting. They are a game changer.
Yeah, maybe he's just waiting for the second Void Ray and 1 or 2 more Warpins here. He's going to make a second sentry here. We were talking about how that first one was probably for the Guardian Shield, but I guess he wants some force fields as well for that bunker.
Oh, that was really smart to pull the rest of the units back. Fantasy might be thinking that there is not actually an attack coming here, even though there is.
Wow.
Yeah,
this is actually really smart.
Like even 1 force field can actually be a big deal in this situation. And if the first sentry has 1 Guardian Shield and 1 force field, that's 2 force fields they can work with. Force field behind his bunker. Here we go.
Coming in, the Void Rays, Prismatic Alignment. He does get that really nice force field on the right side of that bunker, but there is a second bunker here. Looks like Patience is going to pull back just slightly, but he is still going for the attack here. Tons of SCVs being pulled now for the repair.
Yeah, he needs to snipe that turret, I think. He's not being surrounded by SCV, so he can get it very quickly, and then if he was to go for the bunker, he's actually going to run past.
You know, this bunker on the right side is not yet complete. He can get a really nice position over here, just like he's doing. Just sitting on hold position, sniping some units. He's got to be really careful about that turret, though. That Void Ray taking some health damage here.
Wow, he's actually not committing immediately. So as much as he's doing damage right now, if that second bunker was to finish, he knows that he goes for it and gets it. Patience. Still reinforcing here with a lot of Stalkers, but Combat Shield's gonna finish now. And Fantasy is pumping out only Marines. He's still got that 1 turret. He's trying to get another bunker. He's not repairing.
He's not repairing at all. He's gonna get that missile turret. And now these Void Rays are gonna have free reign. It's gonna be so hard right now. He needs that second bunker. But the poking here from Patience is so smart too. He's not overcommitting, but he's not letting Fantasy get that second bunker.
These Void Rays, they need to be respected. There is not enough turrets. Wolf would be very unhappy about this.
Where is that turret, man? Where is it? He's gonna need it. Oh, and look at this. The Oracle even coming by. Looking for a kill. Can he get that Widowmine? That would be huge. No. Just barely not gonna be able to get it.
I'm really surprised that Patience is delaying the attack as much as he is.
Yeah.
Like, what is he waiting for? He doesn't have an expansion. He gets scanned. Fantasy knows that all he has to do is hold here, and he's gonna be able to win. I think Patience was about to go. Actually pops the Guardian Shield a little bit early. Here we go.
Here we go, Prismatic Alignment on that bunker. He's gonna focus 1 down really quick. A lot of Marines are here in this mix, but still a lot of Protoss left over.
It's really good what Patience did with attacking, pulling back, and then doing damage from afar. Right now, Fantasy is really struggling, down to 25 army supply to 47. Lost 8 more SCVs just now.
I really like what Patience is doing, actually. He never overcommits. He just gets a little bit of damage done, and then he pushes in. He's waiting for the Prismatic Alignment cooldown possibly as well for those 3 Void Rays.
He's going to evacuate the natural, and I think he has to. Like, look at his massive amount of Stalkers and 2 Void Rays here. Looking a little bit too scary for him. Widowmine's definitely going to help. Whatever happened? Oh, the Oracle's still there, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to need that for the detection eventually here.
I think Fantasy should just stay on 1 base here and like stay up the ramp and wait until Patience attacks, and then he can hold up the ramp a lot more easily, and then maybe counter drop with some Widow Mines. But I think Patience is actually running out of patience, as bad as the fun it is. He's about to finally go for it.
We'll see if he can. The Void Ray is doing so much damage to all the Marines in the front. It's so hard for those Marines to get close enough with the Stalkers supporting the Void Rays. He's trying to focus down to one. He does get one, but taking so much damage to all of his Marines here.
Oh, these Void Rays, they are like God mode, man. There's nothing to stop them.
You gotta respect him. You gotta respect him. Where's the missile turret? It's over there in the north, but
yeah, he's
not
getting
gonna
a
be in
medivac
position
to heal up his Marines instead of a Viking, which I think is okay, but behind this definitely needs to be starting some kind of Viking. Resumed SCV production, and 21 army supply to 59. Okay, like
here we go. Prismatic alignment on that second bunker. It is gonna go down so quick. A huge repair though on this last bunker. Can he continue to repair this? And can he make the defense? It doesn't look like it. It will go down. And Patience doing so much damage here. Not much left over here for Fantasy.
There's so many Stalkers and Void Rays gonna get in there. One single Stalker tanks the damage from that Widow Mine here. And 14 army supply to 46. I think Patience has done it here.
Looks like he has.
It's funny, like usually this kind of build, you really get in there and try to end it ASAP, but he actually played it really slow. Every time attacking, then pulling back, trying to force a bad engagement from the Marines when the bunkers and turrets weren't shooting. And in the end, he's gonna find a pretty good success with this.
GG, that Fantasy GG timing. Patience will take game number 2. Quite an exciting fashion. Going all in, kind of as we expected him to do. But he just executed it so well, Todd. Yeah. And down here in the bottom right, in the blue, the crowd favorite, the Terran player, it is Fantasy.
Fantasy, who definitely expects to do a bit more scouting, you know. If I was him, I'd definitely focus on that, because if he's able to realize that there is no cheese early on and that it's going to be a normal game, we saw what happened in game number 1. He's just super solid with it. These counter drops, they were very well executed.
That's kind of what we were talking about before we even got into this series. It's like if Fantasy can force a macro game and not go down to the all-in potential of Patience, then he should be pretty fine to win this one, like 3-0 or even 3-1. But just going down to that one, like you were saying, maybe he just wanted to feel the rush. Maybe he just wanted to have a little bit of a fun game there. But I think this time around he's definitely going to play a bit more safe.
Patience in a best of 5 against the Terran, I'll definitely expect him to at least mix in one Dark Templar build on one of these maps and one Blink on-in build. So there is better maps than this, I think, to go for some kind of Blink play.
Yeah.
With the commitments. But DTs here could be pretty good. I don't think this is the worst map for Blink, but not the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's small edge over there, but you can defend decently with like one bunker, maybe 2.
Yeah. Two gas, by the way, already by Patience.
Oh, wow. He's not letting up, man. He does not want to stop going.
Second pylon in his main, though. I wonder if there's a chance he might do something like a Blink on one base. I don't think so. So far, he's only mining out of one probe on that first gas, so I think it's going to be like the CJ hero build where you mine minimum gas, you keep 14 to 15 mineral probes, and then you start a Nexus, go Mothership Core, etc., like fairly standard.
It's just like a bit of a different timing, I suppose. You know, you get the 2 gases very early, but you don't take all of the gas just yet.
Which is actually, to his image, gonna be really cool, because Fantasy is gonna scout, he's gonna see double gas, he's gonna be like, oh god, what now? And then it's just a Nexus really and maybe standard play.
Yeah. You know, maybe when this SCV comes in here, he does put all the probes on gas, and then he just, you know, maybe pulls them out there. But Fantasy is not going to go for the full scout. He wants to just come down here and delay this Nexus, in fact.
You know what this might cause here? Patience might just tilt and be like, you want to block me? Stargate. You're making me mine gas and not spend my minerals? Stargate. But no. He's not mining enough gas for him to justify this just yet.
Just going to get out that faster Mothership Core. And back at home for Fantasy, he did go for that Reaper straight into a reactor. So maybe if he does go for a bit of an aggressive play with that Mothership Core, maybe he can snipe some of the units. It looks like he is going to have to stay in the main here for just a little bit first to take care of this Reaper.
Yeah, and the third pylon placement here in the back of his base, this is, as much as it can be a Stargate, I'm feeling like a Twilight here this game, is likely out of patience. So maybe that Blink play. Dark Templars also can be an option, but I think if he wants to go Dark Templars, the best thing you can do is hide the Dark Shrine on the map at least, so that you're sure it won't be spotted.
You don't want to get it scanned, and then you're just like, well, I just made this Dark Shrine for no reason.
Let's not use it and wait for him to make towers.
Let's make an Archon.
And then I'm still behind.
Well, it is going to be the Twilight coming down here from Patience. We'll have to see exactly how hard he commits, or will it just be that, you know, faster blink to deal with the drops and then eventually just transitioning into Colossi? What do you think about this map in general for PvT? Do you think just the standard Protoss play is okay, or?
Taking a third base and keeping it is definitely like always difficult, which is, to be honest, like the case of kind of every map. That's why you need to play super aggressive, kind of get into your opponent's head. I think if Patience, like one of the good things you could do here is just play with 3 to 4 gateways, get a bunch of Blink Stalkers, apply some pressure, like blink up, and after he's done some damage, then he can go into a third base and play it a little bit more standard. But we saw in game number 1 that his defense against the Medivac drops of Fantasy, they weren't the best. Like he was doing okay, but not great. Like guys like Rain, they do great. They completely shut it down.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely committing to stopping those drops, but even so, he was taking damage. So I think what you said before could definitely be a good idea. But look at this. 2 Hellions going to come into the natural. Will force the Photon Overcharge. Maybe we'll get 1 probe. It will. And it looks like the Reaper in the main has been taken care of at the same time.
Actually, that probe moving out here is a big tale that Patience wants to be very aggressive. Look at how many gateways he's dropping. At first, it was just 2, but the number just became 4 more.
He's going to have 5 in total for now. We'll see if he makes any more. And I think Fantasy has noticed this. I think he saw the gas.
This is bad for Fantasy. If you go for Hellions against this, look at this. This Medivac, I think, even might be spotted here, in which case you get a bunch of Stalkers in your main. The thing is, if Widowmines get to his middle line, there is no removing them for Patience.
It's very true, but at the same time, Fantasy does have to defend against these Stalkers. That attack is coming on real hard right now. Bunker does finish, and he does have SCVs.
In the main.
Here we go.
I mean, these Widowmines.
Well, it's just an empty medevac, actually.
It was a bluff.
It's a fake medevac, and it forced a bunch of warpins in the main. He is going to lose the medevac, but I suppose it will take some pressure off.
Yeah, but it would have been better if it was a real one, because then there was no removing them. There is no detection from Patience. He's just going to be happy to move across the map with the rest of his Stalkers and do well against what Fantasy has in defense. Even though there is some Widowmines, he can just blink away from that, snipe these bunkers.
Well, I do really like the Widowmine placement in the main, actually, right next to this bunker, because if he decides to go for the blink up there, he is going to get hit with a really big Widowmine shot.
I think, you know, like when you see Medivacs, you know that there's already Widowmines out, so blinking 1 Stalker would be the good idea. He's actually going to spot...
What? He's going to lose his Mothership Core.
Yeah.
And now he will not have vision of the top there, the high ground. He's going to have to go for the main. Here he goes. He blinks right onto that bunker, but a big repair. He will not be able to save that bunker.
Yeah. Fantasy is still in quite a bit of trouble. There's just so many Stalkers here right now.
He really just has to rely on these bunkers right now. He just needs to get the repairs. He needs to. But at this time, we do have so many gates out here. He's even warping in some Zealots to do some
13
tanking.
Stalkers against 14 Marines.
This may just be too much, Todd.
It's going to be so hard for Fantasy to hold this. He needs the perfect repair. He needs to pull SCVs. He needs more army, which he doesn't have.
He's coming over here. 1 force field to deny some repairing there on the right side. He's desperately trying to get some SCVs down there. A pretty nice Widowmine hit. But this is so many Stalkers. He's doing so much damage. The bunker will go down.
Yeah, and Fantasy is down to his last very few Marines here. Patience blinking back. He's just lost the shields on most of his Stalkers. 12 SCVs have just died. The natural is going to be evacuated. There is only 1 single Widowmine in main, but I think Patience, he just has so much that he might just be able to overwhelm this.
I think he just has too many Stalkers, Todd. At this point, you can send one up there, blink it back to get rid of that Widowmine shot, and then you can just blink the rest of them on top of the army. He's even just going to eat the Widowmine shot. He has so much stuff at this point. The SCVs are going to be pulled, and Patience down here at the bottom of the ramp just trying to do as much damage as possible. Some Stalkers even blinking into the main, and another warp in here, and it looks like Patience has grasped another game here, Todd.
Yeah, Fantasy he's really struggling to hold on here. If he was able to, maybe it's still somehow have a chance, but he's down to 7 walkers to 32 now.
He has barely any economy at this point. He does have 1 bunker left, but he can just blink straight past it. And Fantasy having a rough time believing that he's lost this game as well. 36 SCVs have gone down in total, and Patience denies the stim at the same time. Look at this, just so many Stalkers. Another huge warp in. They're going to get hit by the Widowmine, but it's not going to matter. The big blink into the main. And Fantasy just refusing to GG out of this.
The Fantasy GG timing is real
timing returns again, ladies and gentlemen.
He's got 2 mules.
Maybe he can mine himself out of this one, Todd. I'm not so sure. GG, Patience will win game number 3.
Nice.
And up here in the top left, in the blue, can he come back here? The Terran player, it is Fantasy.
Arium rocking that American flag. Did pretty well in this tournament, actually.
Yeah, he got really far. Was really awesome to see his micro plays in that game. Something we really don't get to see too often, especially over in Korea. It's all about the macro over there.
Yeah.
So.
He beat some pretty good players. I think it was like Lilbo, Bunny.
Yeah, Lilbo Bunny and then Symbol, a Korean player himself. So.
Patience, though, is it's match point here for him. He gets to pick, he gets to roll the dice, pick a build, and then kind of go for it. And it's going to be really for Fantasy to try and adjust as well as possible. Unless Fantasy kind of tilts and does something crazy, but I don't think so. Like, he's really not the kind of guy to do this.
Nah.
A lot of the times, he's just going to be, very straightforward, standard. I expect, gas on 12 behind this pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think he's just going to play pretty standard straight up here. Go for that early. Well, he's not going to make that gas just yet.
Not yet.
He's going to delay it a little bit.
Yeah,
there it
just
goes.
13. That's okay.
Yeah. Probably just going to go for a little bit later Reapers. I suppose it can be some kind of reactor play. Or maybe Hellions again.
Oh, double gas. Again. Patience.
We'll see what he decides to go off of this, though. Like we saw in the last game, he didn't start mining from them both entirely from the beginning.
The thing is, last game, Fantasy didn't even go up the ramp with his SCV, so originally he didn't know about the double gas. Later on, he was able to see it, but I mean, was already kind of late. He kind of misreacted, I think. So, wasn't ideal for him. But this time, he's going for a Marine.
Yeah. Just one Marine here.
Maybe like a double Hellion into Command Center or something like that.
Could be, but seeing how that worked out for him in the last game, I think he may be a little bit scared to go for that. He's going to make 2 Marines.
The thing is, the Hellions, they really weren't doing any damage. And it was, I want to say, almost a build order win for Patience, because when you go for a Blink Stalker like this on this many gates, or even Stalkers in general, and you're against Hellions, you're going to kill them, they're not going to do any damage, and then you counter-attack, and Terran has what? Steamless Marines with no medivacks?
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm sure Patience was pretty happy with that. We do just see that very fast factory coming out here for Fantasy. Maybe he's going to try to go back to what he did in game number 1, just try to get these big Widowmine drops, get the game going in his favor, get that momentum here.
Still waiting on that second Command Center here to start in a moment. Pretty sure it's going to be a 2 base. We don't really see Tian playing any 1 base here anymore since Puma retired.
Yeah, we see it from time to time from Maru. Like, he stays on 1 base for a little bit, and then he does get that later CC. But we do actually see the starport coming down here first, as well as just continuous Marine production as well. So maybe it's just going to be some kind of drop with Marines and Widowmines. Just put on the damage.
Patience with the Twilight. That pylon placement is interesting. He can actually make a Robo down there, or even a Dark Shrine in the corner of his natural if he wants to.
That's pretty nice, actually.
I told you, he's supposed to go DTs at least 1 time. Like, he's done his Blink build.
Is this the game, Todd? Is this the one?
Maybe. I don't know. It's as likely to be one or the other. Blink definitely would be okay here as well. But then if he was to go for DTs in the last game, it'd definitely be super risky. So I think it's probably better to try it now, but might just be happy to go Blink.
Yeah, I think he's just going to go straight up Blink here. I think it'll be safe. Just try to defend here on 2 base. Try to not take too much damage from the drops that I think he can assume is coming out of Fantasy.
Bam.
Wow, okay.
The Mineral Line Dark Shrine, okay.
There it
Trying
is.
to pretend it's a pylon.
It's really funny because, like, if Fantasy does go for that drop into the main, he's going to scout it right away with just the straight up drop.
Yeah.
So
this is actually a very good pylon. If he goes for a single pylon over there where he has his probe, Patience, I don't think this will ever be spotted by Fantasy, which is a big tell, by the way. Like a 6 minutes plus pylon, a lot of the time means Dark Templars.
Yeah.
So obviously he's not going to see the DTs themselves because they're going to be cloaked. So even if he has an SCV out and stuff, but detection-wise, the Robo only now started, so he's going to have to kill, what is it, like 1 Widowmine in the Medivac?
I think it's only 1 for now.
And the Mothership Core is at the natural. This could do quite a bit of damage.
It's coming straight into the main. He does the Photon Overcharge here at the front. He's even going to lose his Mothership Core at the same time. The Widowmine does get down. Does get 2 of the probes here, but the probes are lining up and 2 Hellions getting a lot more damage here.
Yeah, and the Dark Shrine was spotted in the midst of all this. I don't think we have an eBay though. Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he thinks it's a pylon. It works.
Maybe it really is a pylon. Maybe he'll just add it here in a second, but he's going to need it as soon as possible. There it is.
He just realized, but I mean, the DTs are about to be warped in. 2 Dark Templars are warping in across the map. They're going to walk into his main base here in a second. He has walled off though, the ramp. He can repair. he can repair for a long time.
Oh, and look at this. The Widowmine is going to refresh. Yeah, I think Fantasy knows exactly what's going on.
He has a Widowmine there, so a scan and a kill on that DT with the Widowmine, definitely worth it.
Oh, and the CC finishes too. He'll be able to lift that. He's not really going to take too much damage here. It looks like the scan is going to come down. But Patience very smartly is going to save that DT. It's really just buying time for Fantasy to get that turret up at this point.
Yeah, so this is not going to do... I'm not going to say any economic damage because it's definitely going to slow down the mining and the natural. Actually even make him cancel the orbital and the natural. Wow, Patience kind of salvaged the situation for a moment. It looked like it was going to be good maybe for Fantasy here, but 34 probes to 29 SCVs now. Fantasy wants to do some damage if he's able to.
He really needs to do some extra damage here for sure. He needs to come in here possibly with this drop, and here he comes straight into the main. There is nothing here. The Stalkers are at the front. He's gonna have to pull all of his probes. The Widowmines are going down.
There's no photon of a charge, so these Marines, they actually weren't doing too bad against the Stalkers there, but two more were warped in. The Widowmine is gonna be sniped before he can detonate.
Just barely getting out that observer, it looks like there for the vision, for the detection on that Widowmine. And this drop will eventually be held off, but at the same time, Fantasy is only mining on one base.
Yeah, he's waiting for the Raven to take the natural, because he's getting a Raven. I think he's pretty smart. Like, already having the starport like this wasn't a super big effort. And this drop's being pretty annoying, to be honest, but not killing that much, really.
Yeah, not really getting too much damage done. He gets a lot of those probes a little bit weak, but... Oh, he's so close to losing that medevac, actually. 7 health.
Yeah, he's trapped there forever, by the way. Like, can't really come back in. So it's 23, actually, in army supply, Fantasy with the lead, the nice lead that he has against the 2 gateways of Patience only. If he keeps on dropping and somehow, you know, gets lucky, say Patience out on the map, he might be able to do some damage. Blink only starts now, so it's definitely something that Patience is going to be missing here for the better defense.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Patience is going to try to poke up here with just about 6 Stalkers. He does spot that medevac, and he should be able to get in here.
Afterburners already were used, so this is gone.
Oh, wow. He's going to get the entire medevac and that last Marine that just barely gets out of there.
Oh, he gets the War Prism. Is there a turret in the main?
I think there's one.
Nope.
No.
But he has the Raven. But I mean, if Fantasy moves out and that War Prism flies in, drops some Zealots and some DTs, it's going to be trouble for Fantasy. And I'm sure that he has every intention of moving out. Oh, this is huge. He only loses 1 Observer when the Raven's revealed here. Doesn't lose any DT. This is going to be pretty good, I think, for Patience once again. He has a lot of things going his way here in this game so far.
He really does. You know, that stim only halfway done here. He's got some time. Where's that War Prism? It did come out. Looks like it's going down around the bottom side of the map right now.
I wonder what he's going to load it up with. If he wants to drop some Zealots when... Oh, yeah, okay. There goes the answer.
You know what
he
could possibly do is once that blink finishes, maybe he snipes the Raven.
Yeah, I mean...
If it's out of position.
Yeah, he'd have to lose a lot of Stalkers to do that. Yeah, he'd have to get really lucky, I think.
No, like suicide blink straight into the bio, but
blink into the bio, snipe the Raven. Like next meta, like Prey doesn't have. He just used mills.
Well, here we go. The DTs are dropping. He actually baited the entire army totally so far out of that base, and he actually kills 5 of the SCVs, and only the Raven coming back.
If he had the blink Stalkers, he would have been able to blink in the main and snipe the Raven. And this forced the Raven back. Right now, Fantasy is moving across the map with a huge chunk of army here, but with the first Colossi about to come out here, and Thermal Lance on the way, I do think that Patience is going to be okay. He's dropping down a lot of gateways. How many is he going to be on? Is that 5 total? He's on 2 and 3 more. Okay, so just 5. Okay, I thought this might be like 8 or something, in which case he was going to go for a timing for sure.
He's just trying to get out those Colossi right now. He does have 1. The DT is actually going to come back in here, get 3 more SCVs of damage. And look at this, Patience just waiting. He's going to try to beat the army up.
He's dropping more gates, by the way.
Here we go, the Photon Overcharge comes down and the blink forward, but the Colossus is going to go down immediately. This just may be too much bio. He's going to take out so many of these Stalkers.
That wasn't supposed to be good here for Fantasy, but Patience messed up big time, loses his first Colossus, which is a massive deal. And Fantasy is going to end up trading pretty well if he evacuates now and loses nothing else. He's actually going to get some of those DTs.
Yeah, I think he'll try to snipe the DTs and maybe lift up here. No, he's actually just going to trade. He's got enough stuff left over with those 2 medevacs. At the same time, this DT getting some decent damage done over there.
Raven versus DTs. Epic fight.
Yep. Another Colossus pops out. I think it's going to be too much for Fantasy at this point, but he has done so much damage right now.
Yeah, he traded pretty well. He's actually quite a bit ahead in army supply right now. If he had traded poorly, I think Patience definitely follow up all in, because even though he went for double force, he dropped down a few more gateways, I think, in the main.
Yeah.
How many is he up to?
7.
That is a lot for a 2 base.
Yeah, it really is, especially as you're pumping out Colossi and double upgrades. Look at this position for Patience. I don't think he knows that the bio is up here. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough buffer here for that one Colossus in the back.
There is a big drop setting up for the main, and I don't think there is... Okay, he kills the opposite. Oh, that Raven's been quite good, actually, in the end.
I actually love Ravens in PvP. If you can, you know, somehow get it out in your build, it's so good for sniping. He's sniped like 3 or 4 observers at this point.
Even helping against the DTs back at home in the defense. Fantasy kind of faked he was gonna drop the main, but he's setting up for a big attack at a natural. He goes for it again.
No force fields coming down here. He's just trying to snipe out the Colossus. He's not going to be able to in range his stun. The Seeker missile's coming in on the Colossi. And one will go off on that Colossus, and it will kill it.
They blocked each other here with the gas in the buildings, and some probes actually died. 4 probes. One of the Colossus as well. The other one lost all of its shields. And Fantasy, supply-wise, is doing fantastic all of a sudden. It's 50 SCVs to 47 probes. He's got 70 army supply to 42. Can go very easily into that 3rd base, which is already about to finish here, 3rd commentator.
He really just needs to regroup here and possibly just go for some drops from the main, really pull this Protoss army apart. He doesn't really want to be taking this trade. He's going to have to stim and run away. There he goes.
He needs to wait a little bit more until he has, you know, like, say, 6 medivacs worth of bio, and then he can choose to drop 3 in the main and attack the natural or 3rd base. He can even wait, to be honest. He doesn't have to attack, but he has so much that he might anyway.
Patience keeps forcing these fights out in the middle of the map. He just barely is going to save one Colossus. The Marauders, though, they are going to stim in and snipe one of them.
You know, it's funny because all of this is happening because he lost his first Colossus. Imagine if that didn't happen and he still had it now. He'd be holding it comfortably every single attack.
And at this point, he's just losing Colossus over Colossus. Fantasy at this point up 40 supply. He's trying to warp in a bunch of Zealots to save this Colossus, but it will go down. Just barely here. Those bio on such low health. Looks like he will lift up here and just regroup once again.
Yeah. Patience is never taking a 3rd base here, let me tell you. If he starts that 3rd Nexus, he'd be trolling all of us because he's broke and he's got no army.
At this point, all he can really do is defend. He's fighting a losing battle at this point. These guys on equal upgrades, 1-1.
I really like that Fantasy delayed a lot. He's, you know, +2, and the armory as well. Or even didn't even go for it. Fantasy does really well with his style. He doesn't have to go for Vikings, which kind of makes him predictable, but he's just so good at it that Patience, even if he was to try and react to that, it wouldn't be a sure win or anything.
Yeah.
There's something in there, isn't there?
No, doesn't look like it. And at the same time, the bio once again going to try to push up this ramp. Not much left over here. The Zealots actually behind the Stalkers. A nice blink back, but there's only one Colossus here for AoE.
Yeah, Patience struggling to hold on here. 30 army supply to 74. Fantasy wants to equalize the score. He wants to go to a 5th map.
It looks like he may just be able to do that, Todd. He's trying to focus down that last Colossus, and there it goes. All of the Stalkers being focused down here. He's just barely trying to chrono boost out his last Colossus here, but there is absolutely no support here for Patience. And that last Colossus popping out here. It is going to go down as well. The probes have been pulled. One last warp, and it's not going to matter. GG. Fantasy will force a game number 5.
Really, that you can do from the other game.
For sure, but the map is loaded up, and we are about to jump into game number 5 here. In the top left, in the red, our Protoss player. Can he get it out here? It is Patience. Got a pretty big crowd over here, Todd, for StarCraft 2. Really liking it so far. And up here in the top right, in the blue, our Terran player. He is Fantasy.
This could be a big, big win here for Fantasy, who definitely needs more WCS points to try and qualify for BlizzCon here. He talked about how important this is to him. He definitely would have a pretty good chance in semifinals. Like, it's not like, you know, you look at the bracket, you're like, oh yeah, Fantasy, if he wins here, like he's done in semi. No, he has a pretty good chance against anybody, I think.
On the other side of the bracket, there is Curious and Marine Lord. What do you think on that side? Who do you think is going to get through?
It's really hard to tell, I think. I'm torn a little bit. Like, I want to think Marine Lord, but Curious, he's been there for a long time. He's been in Codes like a crazy amount of times. And he also has a style that I think probably does well against someone like Marine Lord, so it's going to be tough for my fellow Frenchman, but obviously I hope he's going to pull through.
It's going to be a fun series. We are going to get to that after this one. We are in game number 5 between these two players. We do see the gas after the racks here for Fantasy.
And quick scout again here by Patience. Is he going to be a double gas again, though?
I don't know.
We'll have to find out.
Maybe
Not
he's
yet.
just gonna
just one.
Maybe he's just gonna try to get the second base up here as quick as possible. You know, just play a pretty standard early game as Protoss, and then once he gets to 2 base, I think that's when we're gonna see the action come out of Patience.
I think it'd be smart for him to do that because Fantasy's definitely gonna be scouting a lot, expecting something crazy, and especially if Patience can hide his tech very well, or even the fact that he plays standard, if Fantasy doesn't see it, he's still gonna be playing more defensive than otherwise. So. And also Fantasy is kind of, you know, as good as he played, he kind of revealed his hand, like how he likes to play with a lot of drops, dropping a lot of Widow Mine, harassing the mineral lines, which Patience wasn't always super prepared for. He definitely could be better on that side.
Yeah. You know, sometimes even when you know something is coming, even when you feel like you've figured out a player, it can be so hard to stop his play, especially when he's as good as Fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. Usually the best thing you can do is try to basically make a decision on what's going to be the best thing to do against that and then try to execute it as well as possible. But there is many factors that are a little bit random here and there, and the scouting being one of them. We see a Fantasy actually going in the wrong direction for now, or is he just looking for the probe?
He's going to find that probe somehow.
Do you think he knows that Patience top left, or is he going to scout bottom right?
I think he's just going to scout bottom right. He had no idea, but he just got so lucky with that scout there on that probe. He's going to deny it. And there you go.
Yeah, he already knows. Not seeing a Nexus at the natural is big enough a tell for Fantasy to head to the top left.
Who knows? I mean, that probe was not definitely for any kind of proxy. It probably was just going to be for that later scout. We see that time and time again against Reaper builds.
Oh, the Mothership, I think he's going to kill the SCV building the command center on the natural.
It is so close by air. Straight to that natural, it's really not that far at all.
Which means that later on Fantasy is going to have a good option on attacking, you know, the potential third base of Patience, assuming he maybe tries in tech one and drop the main base at the same time.
Here comes the Mothership Core straight into that natural, that SCV all alone here.
Oh, quick reaction, he's going to get away.
Oh, doesn't like that Mothership Core actually.
4 Marines are going to be there in a second.
But they do need to group up here to get rid of this Mothership Core. And he will be able to push it out here, just delaying that CC very small amount.
And Stargate starts behind this, so I think Patience is going to want to do kind of like he did before with the proxy Stargate, but this time on 2 bases and try and do some damage. I wonder how much he will commit, actually, if he drops down a bunch of gateways. The thing is, there is Widow Mines being made this time, very early on. And it's 2 right now, and Fantasy usually gets a 3rd and 4th. Oh my god, he even gets away with the Reaper here. 1 hit points.
It's going to be pretty huge. You know, if that does survive, maybe he can go for a bit of a later scout and really identify what is coming his way.
Where
We've seen that
Reaper?
Fantasy.
Dead end. Oh!
He's going to jump up. He's actually going to save it. Wow. That's pretty huge. And I think he's just going to wrap around here and force Patience to, you know, at least be in the middle of the map somewhere to deny the scout a little bit later on.
Okay, so Patience actually doesn't want to be super aggressive. I think he kind of anticipates that it's going to be Widow Mine drops here once again. Like, again, Fantasy has been doing that a lot, so he's going to set up for defense, which is really good. If he can pick up those Widow Mines and kill them, like he did in the first game, he's going to be in a good position heading into the mid game. But after that, we saw in the first game that in the end, it didn't help him that much. Like, he was doing pretty well early on. He defended those Widow Mine drops. He lost a few probes here and there. Actually, he lost, I think, like 5 to like 1 detonation at some point, which was enough to put Fantasy ahead in walkers. Look at this right now. 36 probes, 30 SCVs. Fantasy needs to do damage. Even just 5 probes would be enough for him to basically justify this drop.
Let's see if he can actually get that damage done. I'm sure Patience knows the timing on when this drop is supposed to come in. He's got 2 Phoenixes out right now. There are 4 Widow Mines, though, going into the main. He does spot that drop coming in, but the boost comes in. Oh, here comes the drop.
Needs to pick up these Widow Mines ASAP. It's 3 of them, 1 of them. Oh, 2 of them burrow pretty far out, so probes are gonna die. He's gonna lose so many times. It's 4 probes, so it was worth it, I think.
Yeah, I think it was definitely worth it. He got a really nice target there. He got 2 probes instead of 1 from that second Widow Mine. Even just 1 probe at this point is going to be pretty nice damage.
It's not super good, but it was worth it because all of a sudden you have 36 SCVs against 40 probes, double orbital, and you only have to use mules. It's actually, there is a bunch of turrets going down right now. Fantasy was really worried there might be some oracles being used here.
kind of interesting. I guess he'll have them for a little bit later against the Phoenix harass as well. Somehow, this medevac does survive, by the way. And now the Phoenixes are going to be out of position for the second drop coming in here for Fantasy.
Should have enough though. Oh, it's 4 Widow Mines every time. Yeah. Fantasy doesn't do things halfway.
This is the Mars style, man. You just go for it. It's all in. You just try to do as much damage as possible with 4 mines here. And here they come straight into the main. Puts on overcharge, comes down. He's trying to focus down the Widow Mine. And the targets are really good here. Gonna get 7 probes in total.
Merry Christmas. 39 probes to 44 SCVs. Fantasy is gonna be pretty happy headed into the mid game in this position here. Twilight's Councils only starts now. There is the first Colossus in production now. Those Phoenixes, well, not going to be able to do much of anything here. 12 probes so far have been killed this game.
Yep, and 0 SCVs have gone down somehow, even with the Phoenixes flying over there.
I really like that Fantasy added the 4th and 5th barracks. You know, it's become the new thing. Like, you almost always do that, so you have a much better chance at holding any kind of potential attack headed your way. And 3rd command center is still started though, like, so he's gonna have that option, you know.
This is what we were talking about before. I mean, this is Iron Fortress. This is the map that Protosses don't take 3rd bases on. Usually you're not in a great position if you're forced to do that, but it looks like Patience gonna play similarly as he did to the first game.
The thing is, he's already on too many probes, I think, to stay on 2 bases. Like, usually if you go past 44, you are kind of going to be taking another base, or at least 46, and now he's at 49.
Like
and I think
46, 48, I'd say, around there. From time to time we see.
What about 49, Val?
49 may have just been a mistake, Todd.
That's not actually a right number.
Well, we do see 5 more gates coming down here.
Yeah.
He's getting the +1 attack as well as the blink. And a bunch of Colossi coming out here. I think he's just going to try to make some kind of absurd number of units and maybe say, like, okay, Fantasy, you lost a lot by going for those big drops. I know I lost a bunch of economy, but I'll just stay on 2 base and I just won't transition into a 3rd one. I know I'll just fight you straight up.
I think he's going to expand, but just because he's most likely, I think he's going to start a Nexus. Even if he does, he's going to want to play defensive and try and shut down the attacks and then go for an attack himself. Yeah. So kind of like you said, but I do think he should start a 3rd Nexus, like staying on only 2 Nexus. If Fantasy is able to see that, he again plays counter drop, plays defensive, and he's going to do super well. We're seeing no Vikings again.
Yeah, no Vikings at all. And I wonder if Patience is going to go for that Nexus, or is he just going to fake like he's got one, you know?
He's zoning Fantasy out here right now. So
he's sitting up there on the 3rd base location, and he's saying, okay, you know, I've got a 3rd base, but this scan...
You called it pretty well, I think. He's doing just that. He's just waiting to crush this army to then go for an attack. I think he's picked up on the fact that Fantasy loves to be aggressive. Even when there is Colossus and he has no Vikings, if Patience is able to get a good fight and then counters attack here, he might be able to make it to the semifinals here in this 5th map.
It's going to be really close. I don't know at this point. You know, like you were saying, still no Vikings in the air. He's going to go up to 4 Colossi total.
Fantasy, I think, I'm really afraid he's finally going to go for an attack here, because this is really looking at like a 3rd base, and against the 3rd base, you can't wait. You have to go for the attack.
Yeah, you really do. Look at this gigantic drop. He's actually going to spot it too, but can he get back in time to even defend it?
Oh, the Phoenix is actually picking up units instead of flying back to help and defend against it. Since he doesn't have a 3rd base, Patience will be happy to send his entire, basically, army in his main to defend this. Yeah. This is what he was waiting for. He's going to kill all of this, and then possibly move across the map and try and finish it, but Fantasy supply-wise is still pretty good.
Look at Fantasy. He's coming up here. He's like, where's your 3rd base?
He's like, what?
You don't have a 3rd base. So half of the army of Fantasy was not just fighting against the army of Patience. Now the guys on very similar army supplies. Patience actually leading with a much higher tech army.
And he's going to move across the map here and try and go for a good fight. He's going to leave the Mothership Core back at home, fully knowing that Fantasy is very likely to try and go for a counter drop with at least 2 medivacs, which might not be enough to do the same damage he did in the first map. Patience putting everything on the line here in map number 5 and going for this massive attack here that's gonna hit Fantasy really hard in a second. A Viking did start, by the way, this time.
1 Viking is starting, Todd. Here comes that big counter harass here from Fantasy. He's going into that natural, but it looks like Patience here. He's just gonna commit to taking out this 3rd base.
Oh, there's quite a bit back home, especially that 1 Colossus with the Time Warp.
The 1 Time Warp is doing a number here. He's trying to focus down that Nexus, but will he be able to? So many of these Marauders in the air, not able to fire. And at the same time, 17 SCVs have gone down.
You can't lose this many units.
He's trying to focus on the Nexus. He just barely gets it with this last Marine.
Even getting the Nexus snipe here, you can't lose this many units and not kill almost any of the army of Patience. Army supply, 86 for Patience, 56 for Fantasy. He just threw away so much. He's got one single, actually, I think that's 3 Vikings against 4 Colossi over there.
Yeah, and even the Stalkers on the ground really going to help out with that. And once the Phoenixes get back, he's going to do a number 2 those Vikings. Vikings getting very low here. Patience has a really scary army. Is he going to be able to finish this one here in game number 5?
Yeah,
it is so close.
Yeah, he's pulling so far ahead in supply, and Fantasy just can't go down that ramp, because then he'd get force-fielded. Those lasers of the Colossus will kill everything. And now, all of a sudden, Fantasy, he has no room to drop across the map. He has no units there, so all he can do is defend.
Look at the supplies right now. It's 142 to 82. Patience is looking to take game number 5. Fantasy does have 2 bunkers up here on the top of the ramp, but no SCVs are repairing, and they're both going to go down. The Phoenix is lifting the last of the units, and it looks like Patience is going to be able to do it. Unbelievable here. This is not the result we expected. A scan coming down here on the natural of Patience Fantasy, trying to see what Patience was trying to do at the end of this game. And Patience, he's gonna get it. GG in game number 5. We have our first semifinalist. Unbelievable.